Hey there, everybody. This is Travis Lima here from Paid Memberships Pro. Today, I have Ali Nimmons with me from WP Buffs, and we're going to be speaking a little bit more about building a community for your membership sites. Ali, how are you doing today? I'm super stoked that you could be on the show with me today.
I'm really good. I'm really happy and excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me on. And yeah, I'm really excited to talk about community, which is one of the things I love talking about most. And within the specific lens of like membership sites and membership areas and things like that. So yeah, I'm very excited.
Awesome. So for those of you who are watching, this is a live streamed webinar. So please go ahead and send in any and all comments or questions that you might have for Ali, because we would love to get those answered for you in this episode. But for those of you who do not know who Ali is, I've got a little bit of a write-up here. So Ali is the community manager at WP Buffs Pro. She's passionate about learning what makes the WordPress community diverse, strong, and successful. She's also a co-founder of Underrepresented in Tech and helps manage the Women of Color in the WordPress Slack channel. Ali, how did that sound? Did I miss anything? Or
No, that sounded pretty good.
Fantastic. Cool. So, Ali, I thought before we go ahead and just jump into the slideshow that you have for us, community, it's something that you hear quite a lot about recently, or at least this is what I feel. It's not a completely new industry in the sense that I think it has been around for a very long time, but we've sort of coined the term community management maybe in the last 10 years or so. I don't know if that's correct. You might know a little bit more than me, obviously. But could you give me a very broad overview of what it means to be a community manager? What does that sort of look like on a day-to-day basis?
I think that's a really good question, and it's different for a lot of people. There are community managers who work very directly with, the company and that company's clients or customers. My role, for example, which is a role that we completely invented for me at WP Buffs. There was no community manager at this company that came before me. I'm the community manager in terms of being the liaison between our company and the WordPress community as a whole. So making sure that as a company, WP Buffs is a good community member. And so I think that a broad overview of what a community manager does or what that role looks like on a day-to-day basis is trying to understand the community, whatever that community is, whether it's a tech community, a community of people who are going to buy something from you, whatever that looks like, right, for your company. Understanding what those people want and what they need and what they're thinking about, and then developing actions, strategies, tweaking systems to make sure that those people are seen and heard and supported. So it's a very, very people first role. So like I don't do anything having to do with sales really or marketing, but what I do touches each one of those things because it's all about how can our community be supported by us, and are there ways that a happy community member could be a happy WP Buffs customer, right? That's always a possibility, but more than anything, it's about making sure that we as a company are a good community member. So it's kind of nebulous, and I have an argument with myself almost every morning about what my job actually is, because it is very, it's not particularly set in stone, but I just try to make sure that I'm representing the company really well and doing things that make our community a better community at the end of the day.
I think that's a really interesting point, because I had this idea that a community manager's sort of sole kind of role would be to, develop a community around your business or company. But I really liked what you said there. There is that aspect to it, but it's also about showing up in a community as a company and making sure that you put your best foot forward. So that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. So you have prepared a couple of slides and a bit of a mini presentation for us.
Yeah.
Are you ready to go on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and bring it up on the screen now. And just a reminder for the folks at home, if you are around and you're watching us live, please go ahead and drop any comments or questions down below, and I will be sure to ask Ali on your behalf. Cool. Ali, you're good to go. Take it away.
Awesome. Cool. So yeah, I'm going to just be talking a little bit about building communities with membership sites. But before that, I wanted to talk a little bit to you about why community is important, right? Like why it's important for you to be thinking about this sort of thing if you are running a business, if you are starting a membership site, so on and so forth, right? So what is a community? A community to me, and I've thought about this a lot, is a group of people who have similar or overlapping interests, needs, goals, who are willing to collaborate and communicate with each other in order to reach those goals. I think that both of those things have to exist together, both that they have similar interests and goals, and that they're willing to either communicate or collaborate with each other in order to make that happen, right? So when you're thinking about what is the community that I want to build, what's the community that I want to show up in, what is the community that I want to support, you have to think about the nature of what a community is supposed to be. There are one of the biggest misconceptions I think people have about community is that a community is supposed to be this like kumbaya, everyone is accepted, everyone is loved, sort of mentality. A community has to be specific. It has to be people who have something in common, whether that be the things that they need or the mindset that they have. And if there are people that don't fit that community, and by not fitting the community, they are harming the community, that's not the community for them. And so there is a kind of exclusionary concept to the idea of community. I just want to put that out there and make sure that we're starting with a good mindset when we're talking about community. Beep. Okay, so why do we want to build community? Community creates free value. And I'm not saying by free value, I'm not saying you shouldn't be charging for access to your community. You definitely can, you definitely should. That's what stuff like Paid Memberships Pro helps you do, right? Among other systems. But the value of that community, the value that the community provides to the community member should be so valuable that whatever it costs to join that community should then be negligible, right? It needs to be able to, in a way, pay for itself. So let's think about the value of a community to you, the business owner, the person who's organizing it. I'm sorry, flip that. First, let's talk about the value that the community offers the members, and that is going to be answers and solutions. Any community that you join, you are looking to solve a problem, right? You're looking to get information in order to overcome something that you're struggling with. Even if that is a networking community, right? You have a problem. You want to widen your network. You don't have enough people in your network. You're looking to be hired. You're looking to be hired. Joining that community provides you with a solution, right? So we always want to think about when we're providing that value within that community, and when we're thinking about how we're going to build that community, what answers are we providing and what solutions are we providing? The cost, right, of then joining that community should be negligible compared to whatever that benefit is going to be. So if it costs somebody $20 to join your networking community, but the job that they get increases their income by like $20,000 a year, that was free value, essentially. That was nothing compared to what it is that they got, right? So then let's talk about the value that a community can bring to you as a company. And as you can see, that list is a lot longer. And I broke all of these out individually because I think they are important to keep in mind, and important maybe goals that you want to set for yourself. So a community can help you create brand trust, right? You are the company or business that provides those answers and solutions, and people trust you as that sort of like industry leader, industry expert, right? When they have a problem, they think of you. A community is really, really good for reputation management. So if you have a community, say like a Facebook group, and an unhappy customer who is a part of your Facebook group comes into the group and they leave an angry review, or they, trash your company in a post, which I've seen happen in company groups before. You have that interaction in your backyard. You are able to then manage how that is responded to. It's not like they went off in some random forum and now you can't stick up for yourself. You have a place where people can come to share their grievances, share their frustrations, and then you can take the initiative to communicate with them about whatever that problem might be. Obviously, a community, something like a membership site, is a really good funnel, right? If you're saying, okay, I'm going to offer free access to this course, there are all kinds of upsells and opportunities and places you can send them to turn that warm lead into, or maybe that cold lead, I guess, into a much warmer lead. So you can create those funnels starting with that membership opportunity. Memberships in the value that someone is getting. Like when somebody gets a lot of value out of you, they're going to become a fan, right? They're going to want to support you. If somebody comes to your membership site all the time and they get all this amazing value, and somebody else that they encounter out in the world says, hey, I have this problem and I need a solution, they are much more likely to say, hey, I'm a part of this really great community and you should join as well, right? We have this, that's why we leave good reviews, right? We have this need to say, I had a great experience and I want you to have the same great experience as well. A community is a great place to get data. So think about the WordPress survey that's put out once a year. It's put out to most of the WordPress community. I'm sure there are people it doesn't reach. But it's a way to have this microcosm of people that you can turn to. They're all in one place and you can ask them questions. You can send out surveys. You can send out polls. You can iterate. So say you have a membership site where you sell courses and you have, a community for that membership site. Maybe it's a Facebook group, maybe it's a forum on your site, whatever the case may be. And you're thinking of putting out a new course, but you're torn between two different topics. You can go directly to the source, to the people who already need what it is you're offering. And you can ask them, which of these two courses would you rather get? Would you rather have? And that obviously takes the weight off of your shoulders of having to do all of this research and figure out which one is going to perform better. You already have a subset of the people who are going to buy from you. Community is really great for social proof, because if maybe I'm going to work with a company and I see that they have a community online already, I might poke my head into that community and see, all right, what are they doing? What are they talking about? What kind of people use this product or this service? And I see the super active community of people who are, saying things like, oh yeah, I signed up for this course and I doubled my income in the next quarter. That's way more impactful to me than the company saying, if you buy our course, you'll double your impact in the next quarter. Anyone can say that. But if I actually see someone in the community or hear from them that they have achieved this value, that's going to compel me to take some kind of action. And then finally, obviously, recurring revenue. If you are charging for the access to that community, if you are charging through a membership site, and again, I go back to the example of building courses or distributing content. You can create a set of courses or a set of videos, whatever, and just let it go and let people purchase it. And, you'll want to develop more content over time, but it's something that you can kind of set and forget in a way, right? So creating community through something like a membership website provides value to every single person involved. But if you have an idea, if any of these things were like, yes, that's the thing I'm trying to achieve, you have an idea of that how you want to structure that community so that you can achieve this level of value. So when we're starting the community, right? So this whole stream is called How to Build a Community. So when we're building that community, we need to ask ourselves these simple 5 questions, right? So the who is, who do you want in this community? And the answer is not everyone, right? One of my biggest pet peeves is when you sit down and you ask somebody, who's your target market? Who are you marketing to? Who's your target audience? Blah, blah, blah. And they say, everyone. I want to reach everyone. I want to sell to everyone. That's not going to happen. Even the biggest companies in the entire world started off marketing to individual people, and they were able to scale and scale and scale. I mean, think of the biggest company in the world, like Apple. Their target market is very specific to specific kinds of people, even though it seems like everyone in the world has an iPhone, right? So you want to make sure that whoever you are trying to bring into this community, that you have a clear idea of who that person is, what they want, what they need, what their struggles are. That could be existing customers. It could be potential customers. Figure out exactly who this is for. Once you have an idea of who this is for, you then are a step ahead in figuring out what you want to offer within this community. So are you offering just pure information? Are you offering downloadable content? Are you offering some sort of mentorship? Once you know what they want, you can figure out how to provide it. So if you have, if you're just decided, okay, well, I want to do courses, maybe the people you're trying to reach don't need courses, or maybe they don't need mentorship. It's important to know who you're talking to and then what they want. The when, I think, is very important. Running and moderating and administrating and maintaining a community, it's not something that you can set and forget. It's important for you to set a schedule for yourself of releasing content, of accepting new members, of, maybe if you have something like a Facebook group, posting in that group yourself and encouraging that content. The more structured you can be with how frequently you interact with that community, the more you can iterate, the more you can look back and say what wasn't working, what is working, and so on. The where is really important, right? So something like Paid Memberships Pro or any of those other kind of WordPress softwares that allow you to build out a membership site, those are great options. Not every option is going to be best for every single person. You definitely want to do your research and figure out, what does this option provide me with and what can I do with it? How can I build on it? I've mentioned Facebook groups a bunch of times already. I think Facebook, even though a lot of people aren't super huge fans of Facebook at the moment, Facebook groups are still amazing opportunities to create these little communities of people. And you might want to do a thing where you have a free Facebook group and then you have a paid membership site. And so people can graduate from one to the other. But it's important to do that research and figure out what is going to be the most frictionless for the people that you want in your community to be able to handle. And finally, why, right? What is your goal? We don't want to just start a community for no reason, just because we think we should or because it's a buzzword or whatever. What do you want to get out of it? If you're doing it to make money, that's fine. But you have to make sure that you are providing that extra value that really brings people in. You have to make sure that you are putting people first, and it's not just a cash machine. There are plenty of communities and membership sites out there that have a financial goal in mind, but it's just, I just can't say it enough that that can't be your only goal, right? So as a quick example, I wanted to show you the membership site that we have at WP Buffs. We built out a partner hub for all of our white label partners. So when you join our white label program, you get access to this password protected area of our website called the Partner Hub. And it is purely a tool and resource for the partners to be able to get their questions answered and to communicate with us in an organized fashion. So when you log on to it, you see, all of these options. You have a form where you can add a new care plan, which is fantastic because previously it was like, well, I have a new plan. You send an email, I have a new plan. Okay, cool. Which plan do you want? I want this one. Okay, you have to send us this information. Awesome, I did that. Okay, now you forgot this part. So this form has every single thing that we need. You fill it out the one time and you're done, right? It helps us cut back on the time that we need to, get that new plan added in, makes things less stressful for the partner. On the side there, you can see there's an account area where the partner can view information about their specific account. There is help with white label support, marketing materials and email templates, which is static content that we've created that you can use to improve your marketing or boost your email templates. Because from our perspective, the white label partners' success is our success. The more plans they sell, the more plans we get, right? The more money we make, the more sites we can manage. And so for us to create a area like this means that white label partner is completely set up for success as much as we can help them with, right? There's also the ability to book a partner call through this portal. So they don't have to go hunting through our website or hunting through an old email to try and figure out how to do that. Everything that they need is right here at their fingertips. So this is a great example, I think, humbly. I didn't create this, but I'm very proud that our team has created it. It's super easy to use. This is a great example of a membership site that is not something that we have to be, it's not like a weekly course where we have to be adding new content to it all the time. We add new content to it very sparingly, but it's incredibly useful. It solves problems, and it is something that we iterate on a regular basis to make sure that our partners are getting what it is that they need. So if you sell a service, maybe it's a good idea to start a membership site, because what this does, going back to like the community side of things, this creates sort of a white glove butler service of like, we see you as valuable members of our company. We appreciate you. We want to take care of you. We want to make things easy for you. And while our white label partners don't necessarily speak with each other, it still creates that feeling of community, right? Everyone has similar or overlapping interests. They want to succeed as white label partners, and they're willing to communicate with us. We get a lot of communication through this portal. We get questions about it. We get feedback on it, and it helps us to make it better. And yeah, that's basically it. I definitely want to hang out and answer questions and talk more about how membership sites help with community.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much, Ellie. Sorry, I was just checking in some questions that were coming in, lining them up for you. That was super insightful. I was also taking notes here for myself, so that's great. Thank you so much for that. Great. So if you are around, please go ahead and leave any comments or questions for Ellie, and then we can start answering them up. I see some have come in. So I am going to go ahead and start with this question. I'm going to bring it up now from David Adams over on YouTube. David asks, I'm looking to add community features to our member site. Number one, community posts and social media feeds on our homepage. Number two, possibly a chat forum, maybe looking to use bbPress over there. And number three, some online chat, for example, live chats. Are these good ideas, or can you?
Yeah, those all sound like great ideas. Those all sound like things that if you have any sort of community already built, and when I say community, your existing customers and clients are your community, right? You can reach out to them, maybe send out an email or put something on your existing social channels to say, would any of these be cool for you? Would any of these be helpful? Would any of these solve any of the problems that you have, right? Community posts and social media feeds, I think, are awesome. Like, if by community posts you mean like posts in your blog, yeah, absolutely. If there are things that you're already doing in the community, or if there's information you want to distribute to the community and they're already using the blog as a portal for that, 100%. A chat forum with bbPress. I'm assuming that would be like a chat forum that your community members can use to talk to each other. I think that would be really cool. I don't know what this person does, like what their company is, but I always like the idea of, if you sell yarn, and you have a forum where people can share patterns and talk to each other about knitting and crocheting and all of that kind of stuff, you're giving them access to each other, access to increased knowledge. And then when somebody through that community learns how to knit a super crazy, huge, intricate quilt, where are they going to come to for yarn, right? Like, if you're cultivating that knowledge, you can be there when they need whatever it is that you provide. So I think chat forums are a great idea. Online chat or live chat, yeah, if that's what people want from you. I don't really see how a live chat would foster community. I guess I feel like most people use live chat for like sales purposes. But if you found a way to use your live chat in a way that builds community, I don't see anything wrong with that. Maybe the only thing I would say is like try these things like one at a time. Like introduce the live chat, see if people use that and if they like that. If you get feedback on that, then bring in the chat forum, see if people use that and if they like that. I'm a big fan of like iterating things like this and not introducing a bunch of new stuff all at the same time, because then you get this, what my husband calls analysis paralysis, where people see all these options and they're like, I don't know what to do. This is all new. I'm intimidated and I'm not going to interact with any of it. So if you roll these out over time, I think that would be really interesting.
Perfect. We got a question that came in from Tan May. Tan May, this specific question that you had was a very PM Pro technical specific question. So I think I'm going to skip out on that, but just get in touch with us over on the contact form on our site, and then we'll help you out with that question. A good question coming in from Christopher J. Churchill over on YouTube. What is the biggest community motivator in your opinion, Ali?
That's an interesting question. I'm not 1,000% sure what you mean. If you're asking about like me personally, I'll answer it from that then. Me personally, my biggest motivator, I believe very strongly in the community that I'm a part of, right? I did not choose WordPress arbitrarily and just say like, oh, well, I'm going to be active in this community or I'm going to support this community. It was a tool that I used for a really long time that changed my life. I attended 2 WordCamps before I even really realized that there was a community of people that was so vibrant and active. And when I was reached out to with like a moment of like extreme kindness, and I realized that that sort of thing was pervasive, I was just like, well, why wouldn't I give back into that? Why wouldn't I try and send that back into the community? And so there's something about not only the people in the WordPress community, but the whole open source mentality that just like gets me right here, that I want to be a part of, because I think it makes me a better person. And I like the idea that I can do things that help other people be better people. And so I think a big community motivator should be something that is personal to you. If you want to work in community management, or if you want to, even if you just want to build a community for what it is that you're doing, you can't be afraid to let it get a little bit personal. And like, how is this going to affect me like in my soul? Like it feels good in my soul to do good things for this community. Like I feel like I'm getting a lot of, points to get into heaven sort of thing, like it makes me feel good. And I can do it for a living. I can make money off of it. I can have friends and on a professional and personal level. So it benefits me, but I can also put benefit out into the world. And so I think if you're thinking about starting a community, those are 2 good motivators. How can it benefit me? And can I turn that benefit out to others at the same time? Yeah. I hope that helps.
I think that was great.
Cool.
Another question is, what do you think about Discord or possibly Slack for creating a community? Any thoughts on that?
I think they're both awesome. I love owning your content. So like one of the huge downsides of Facebook groups is like Facebook could disappear tomorrow and you've lost all that. When you're starting that group, I guess it's a problem with Discord and Slack as well. When you're starting a Facebook group, someone has to create an account with Facebook. And if they have moral quandaries about Facebook, that's a problem. Owning your content, owning your platform is so important, which is why WordPress is so awesome. So something like Discord or Slack, which are kind of like independent communication tools, I think are pretty incredible. I know a lot more about Slack than I know about Discord. I know that Discord, when I think of Discord, I think like gaming communities and stuff like that. Slack, I think more like professional communities. But overall, yeah, I'm a big fan of both of them. I think it just takes maybe, a bit of research, playing with each one and figuring out what's going to be easiest for me to use, but also what's going to be easiest and most straightforward for my customers to use. So, or my clients or whatever. If I'm building a community, if I was building a community right now that was WordPress focused, I would use Slack, because I'm pretty certain that like 75% of the people in this community already are familiar with Slack. And I don't want to create a barrier for entry by asking people to use a new program. And so just try and be thoughtful about which one you might want to use.
There's a bit of a follow-up question that came in about, have you got any tips on finding your community and possibly the best platform that your community might gravitate towards? Is there any way that I'm trying to think of someone who I've never ever thought about, starting a community or being part of a community. I am, in this specific business. How do I go about actually finding and knowing which platform to use on that community?
Google. Like,
good old Google.
Again, I'll go back to like, if you're looking to build like a knitting community, right? That's a super niche sort of thing. It's very specific. So if you start Googling, knitters clubs, knitters communities, stuff like that, you'll start to see some patterns, I think, of what are the most popular ones and what are they already using. And so you can just kind of follow that trail of breadcrumbs to whatever platform that is. Like, I want to see really quickly if I just Googled WordPress community to see. That's not a good idea, because a lot of them are just articles written by hosting companies about how great the WordPress community is. But I do still think that example holds up. Like, if you can search and find other ones, or I would say in other times, if you can find physical representations of those communities, like used to be in the good old days, people would go meet places and talk about things, or, do those sorts of activities together. And so you can ask those people, like, you can talk to those people and figure out, do you have any online resources that you trust or that you go to? So yeah, I think it just takes a little bit of research and then following that trail to see what other companies are doing.
Cool. Thanks for that. I have a question over here that, and I'm trying to just make sure that I phrase it correctly, but do you have any tips on making or aiding a community to become scalable, and not in the sense of like growing the community, but I can imagine as a community manager, you can be very scattered, in the sense of like, maybe you're over in Facebook 1 minute and then you need to hop over to Twitter, and then you need to go back to Facebook, but then jump over to YouTube, maybe hop on Discord, etc. Is there any tools or ways to make sure that you are not completely frizzled out by the end of the day, dealing with all these people from all these different platforms, or any tips with that you can maybe share?
Two things come to mind. I'm a huge fan of block scheduling. So just because everything is virtual right now doesn't mean everything needs to be instant. So we have people interacting with us, on social media, scattered throughout the day and night. That doesn't mean I need to be on social media all day and all night. Maybe I dedicate 1 hour of my time a day to interacting with people on social media. Maybe I schedule that I'm going to do like a Twitter Smarter engagement on social media that day. And then I move on to something else, and I dedicate my time according to what it is I need to do that day. And so maybe that means you're prioritizing, okay, our community is most active in the Slack channel, not very active on Twitter. So I'll spend 30 minutes on Twitter, but then I'm going to spend like a 3-hour chunk in Slack. So prioritizing where that community is, and not allowing the community to pull you in different directions, because that's how you go insane. Sometimes if I need to like write something, I put all my stuff on mute and I just sit down and I do that thing that I have to do. Because not everybody needs my time every second of every day. There's also the idea of like, I don't do everything alone by any stretch of the imagination. We have our content head, Alec, and we have a social media person, Megan, and I touch social media as much or as little as I want to, really. Megan handles our social media. Alec handles our blog. I contribute to both, and we all talk high-level strategy together. We all problem solve together, but I'm not beholden. There's going to be somebody to handle something if I'm not around or if I can't do it or if I'm busy. So I would definitely say if you are a community manager, you have a community manager, that person needs backup. They need help. They need a team. And that's really how you get something done. If you have a business and you're like, okay, I want to start a membership site or I want to start a community, dedicate 3 afternoons a week to managing that community, or use automation, schedule stuff that goes out, in your Facebook group to keep people engaged. But don't think that you then have to, this is now your full-time job, is managing this one group, because it isn't. You have all these other things to do. So block scheduling and delegation is the TLDR of that.
Awesome. TLDR, love it. Kim Coleman actually sent in a very interesting question that I think is worth touching on. What are some ways to keep a community active and engaged? And I'm sure any business owner has felt it, where you throw something out on Facebook and you just hope that someone will comment, or some kind of engagement would develop out of your effort, and then sort of it's just quiet. And where do you go from there? Is there any tips on to create an engaging and active community?
It is a really good question. And Kim, when you have the answer, I'd love to hear it. It is an incredible, it is the question, right, of anybody who runs any sort of community. Even if you're somebody who, this is something I think that WordCamp organizers ask themselves. Like, we're bringing people to this one spot. What do we do then? What do we do when they get here? How do we develop content? What do we do to make it fun? I think it really goes back to those 5 questions I was talking about. You first have to learn as much as you can about the who, right? Who am I talking to, and what did they need? So I think going back to the event organizer, people learned fairly recently, I think, that having after parties for WordCamps purely at bars is not a great idea, because a lot of people in the community, for whatever reason, personal, whatever, do not drink. People were disengaging from the sanctioned after party events because they didn't want to go to a place where there would be alcohol. So a lot of organizers took a step back and looked at their who and said, okay, these people have a need, and their need is to be able to go to an after party where they're not pressured by alcohol. So let's move our after party somewhere else. And I think it's really as simple as that, right? Trying as best as you can to listen to what people want, what they're interested in, and genuinely trying to problem solve in order to make sure that a lot of it comes down to like personal comfort. What makes somebody feel comfortable to where they want to engage within that community? There are instances where a community member can be toxic or unfriendly or bullying or harassing, all of that sort of stuff. Those sorts of things can cause community members to disengage. But as a community manager, as an organizer, whatever you want to call yourself, if you are able to solve that problem, those people can re-engage, right? So it's about making sure that people are comfortable, that they have the things that they want, and that honestly that they see value in it. What I find so interesting about WordCamps, there are so many people who go to WordCamps who don't go to sessions, right? Or at least back in the day when we had physical camps, they were not going to sessions. They were hanging out outside talking to their friends. That was the value that they saw. And so having hallway tracks and having open shared, can you imagine going to a WordCamp where there's no hallway? Like it's just room, and you can only be in a room? You wouldn't go because it's way more fun. It's fun to go to sessions, but it's also a lot of fun to hang out outside on the grass or at a table and talk to people. So I think that my prediction when physical WordCamps return, we're going to have a lot more opportunities outside of sessions to spend time with each other, because right now our community is a little bit starved, and we will remain that way, starved for just that one-on-one interaction where you can sit and talk to somebody about video games if you want to, So I think that keeping people engaged and active is providing them with the things that they need and making sure that they feel comfortable and that they feel accepted and valued and all of that mushy good stuff.
Awesome. Great. And on that note, I see that we have come up on time. So there are no other questions that I can tell that have come in. So thank you, everyone who made it this far on the webinar episode. And Ali, thank you very much for sharing with us all you do at WP Buffs as a community manager. It was really, really useful. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for everyone who asked some questions. We talked about some really interesting stuff just now.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, as you were speaking, we were talking about how do we get community engaged and active, and like this seems to be working to a degree. So that's fantastic. Ali, for those of us watching who want to maybe get in touch with you, follow you, learn more about you, do you have any links or Twitter handles that you would want to share with us real quick?
You can find me on Twitter all the time at Ali_Nimmons. My name is right there. Ali_Nimmons, or my website, alinimmons.com, is where I blog about stuff. I'm actually going to be releasing a new blog post today. So that's pretty exciting. So yeah, those are the main two places you can find me, I think.
Perfect. Cool. Everyone at home, thank you very much for watching. And Ali, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.